big. You've got the Big Show with Andy and Brendan.
This is the Big Show, baby.
Serving up takes on Mizzou, the pros, and everything in between. Want to join in? Call or text the show at 573-875-KTGR. The Big Show starts now.
You bet it does. Welcome into Monday's edition of the Big Show on your total sports station, KTGR. Andy Humphrey and Brendan Schaefer here. It was a happy homecoming weekend here in Columbia. Quite fun things, of course, and when Mizzou puts up the type of win it did. I mean, you can't complain too much about it, but that's what we're going to do for the next, 20 minutes or so.
I'm ready. I'm ready to complain.
Really? I mean, come on. I mean, you could play about how the game was, like boring, I guess, or things like that. That's kind of how I describe it.
Is that all?
I think it's good that it was boring.
It's what Eli Drinkwitz said was true. It's good to be 5-0 and have some things that you nitpick on and still can improve upon. That's true, but there are still some things to improve upon because that was UMass out there and sloppy, pretty sloppy, boys. So anyway,
a few things were a little sloppy in that game.
We'll talk about it.
Will get into those. We'll get into our reaction to the Chiefs yesterday.
Not sloppy.
Not sloppy at all.
Brendan has some mea culpas to hand out is all I'll say about that. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'll take the crow will be tasty today, and I got to eat it. There's no doubt about that.
5:05, we'll discuss some Chiefs, some big college football results from the weekend. Bill Connelly will give us his thoughts on those at 4:25. And this begins a very interesting offseason for the St. Louis Cardinals. Highly anticipated offseason as things have kind of transpired the way they did. Chaim Bloom taking over. He's going to talk tomorrow. And what do you expect, I suppose, now as a Cardinals fan? 5:25, we'll talk about that. Give us a call or a text here at 875-KTGR. You can also tweet us at KTGR Big Show. You can see us on YouTube right now at KTGR Sports. Go and subscribe to our channel. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/KTGR Big Show.
Now, the Big Show's Big Deal.
Mizzou took care of business against UMass in their homecoming game on Saturday, winning 42-6. 3 more touchdowns for Ahmad Hardy. He had 130 yards rushing in the game. Bo Prabula, very accurate, 26 of 29 passing for 241 yards, a touchdown. He did have an interception, but at one point during the game, set the Mizzou record for the most consecutive passes completed in a single game with 21. That broke Chase Daniels' record that was set in 2008. So Bo Prabula has that next to his name now. And the Tigers are 5-0 overall heading into their bye week this weekend. But it sets up a big matchup against number 10 Alabama the following Saturday. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. They announced today it's going to be on ABC. You can hear it right here on KTGR without coverage starting at 8 a.m. And that is the Big Show's Big Deal on this 29th day of September 2025. You can call or text us here at 875-KTGR to discuss how Saturday's game went for Mizzou. The main thing is that it happened. It was a 36-point victory. The Tigers checked the box. They got a victory that's really, there was no question as to who was going to win that game. You obviously look at how they play in a game like that, and from whatever you can take away, it's usually only bad things that you take away when you play a game to that nature against an opponent like that is clearly not up to the task talent-wise. Maybe heart-wise. Like, I thought there were some moments where Massachusetts played pretty tough, but it just is not enough when you go up against an SEC opponent on the road and you're starting a true freshman quarterback, first ever start in college. It went the way that it should have gone. But do you complain about it at all? Do you complain about a few things here and there? I know Brendan probably wants to.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the toughness of UMass, which I don't care about at all. But to that point, they didn't lose in the trenches as much as I thought they would when it comes to Mizzou's offensive line against their defensive line. It was sloppy. It just was. I mean, there were times where we were kind of waiting, and we talked about it on last week's shows, that we were looking forward to seeing, Hardy or Roberts break the big run for a touchdown, like a comically long touchdown run, because it was just that easy. Run stuff didn't come as easily as I expected that it would in this game. Clearly UMass though was looking to shut that part of Mizzou down and said, like, we're going to at least make Bo Prabula throw the football to beat us. And he was able to do that. You mentioned the 21 completions in a row. I think that was part of the plan for UMass of, like, okay, these guys have been running all over everybody. We're going to try to put some extra bodies in the box to slow down that rushing attack, and then say, hey, maybe crazy stuff happens if they put the ball in the air, which at one point there was an interception thrown. And so, like, I think that was part of the plan, which I'm using
soft coverage though too. Like, it was easy to just give it to Kevin Coleman and Marquise Johnson on
it was easy
5-yard outs, and they could go after the catch after that.
Yes, Mizzou fans I saw kind of upset about, why aren't we taking deep shots? And if you looked at the coverage, I know it's been maybe a theme more of the season where Bo hasn't gone deep a ton since like the first game, but I also thought very, very appropriate on Saturday to take what the defense was giving you. But they were giving you short completions, and they were trying to stop you from running the ball. They basically were saying, don't throw deep on us, dink and dunk. And, like, look, there was a defender that got a hand on that pass that was intercepted from Prabula that was really the one mistake, and it was, kind of came early in the game, so you're a little bit tense about it, but you never thought that the outcome was in doubt. I was more tense about probably Hardy ending up in the injury tent than anything, but he ended up being just fine. Yeah. And so all's well that ends well on that. You got 2 weeks to rest up, probably just cramps there. But I just thought offensive line, and Bo took just way too many shots. For a game against UMass, that number should be 0. I know he can't really get the uniform dirty because they don't play on grass, they play on turf. But if they played on grass, his uniform would have been very dirty, because he took several hits, and you just can't do that against UMass.
Yeah, 4 sacks is too many. I could accept 1, and it's like 2 is a little much. 4, you're kind of getting into areas where you don't want to be doing awful. That.
It was very bad.
I mean, there were some situations where, like, look, one of them was on the Hail Mary attempt that was
very strange.
Doomed from the start. Like, they overloaded the left side, and Bo rolled to that side. It was just a happenstance. But yeah, and look, I agree with you that it's not what you want. The offensive line, I think, took I won't even call it a full step back, maybe a half step, because of some of those sloppy moments. I think by and large they didn't have a bad game, but you don't want to have that type of performance against the opponents that you have coming up. So, like, I can acknowledge that there were some sloppy moments that definitely need to get cleaned up, but I can also definitively say that I don't think that's what this offensive line is, like the way they played on Saturday. I don't think that's them. I believe they're better than that, and but
we don't get any more chances to find out.
There's no more ramp ups, right? Exactly,
right. That's it. Yeah. So, and in the games against South Carolina and Kansas, I largely think the units played pretty well. So I'm not like, those are the 2 games they've played, though. That's the reality. You played 5 games, but you've really played 2, and they held up in the 2 games that mattered so far. This will be the most difficult opponent that you face when Alabama comes to town, and so that ramp up is going to be real. But I even kind of alluded, Andy, Drinkwitz, I thought, had it handled perfectly against Louisiana, and we saw it in the mini movie they made after, which I guess, are they not doing that anymore? We didn't get one last week, I don't think, against South Carolina.
I don't know. Either way.
Kind of weird, but whatever. But in that, they showed something that I thought was valuable, and him talking about dominating for 4 quarters was sort of clearly the mantra of the Louisiana week. I don't know what the mantra was this week against UMass, but I even said last week, it's difficult to do that again when you have the bye week coming, and then you know that Bama looms after that. It would have been difficult to have that energy level match the Louisiana game. And so I wasn't surprised that they came out kind of sluggish in some respects, and that it was a little bit sloppy, maybe a lot sloppy. But as you mentioned, the score largely still reflected what you expected to happen. And so it's not the end of the world. I think it was a case where UMass is so bad that you could kind of look over them a little bit and still beat them by 36. And that's sort of what happened. They didn't dominate for 4 quarters. If you watch that game, I don't think anybody would tell you that they matched that same level of intensity as they had against Louisiana, but they won by 36. And so anything that would be a complaint, which I'll do, it's still nitpicky, and I can acknowledge that.
I would nitpick the offense as not being really dominant. I could call the defense pretty dominant in this game. Like, they put the clamps down pretty well. Like,
pretty good.
105 pass yards. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 plays that they'll go back and look on the tape. But that Again, that's going to happen throughout the course
Really
of the
3.
game.
One of them was a drop, but 2 of them that they got, again, kind of soft in the coverage. But you're right.
Once they get the reserves in and everything too, it was kind of late in the game. But 19 rushing yards for UMass, man. Like that's a minuscule number. 4 of 16.
That's what Mizzou does.
4 of 16 on third down. They only got 8 first downs on the whole night. UMass did.
What was our over/under on that? We were in the single digits. I don't remember if we said 5 or 7 or whatever we said.
I believe it was that number of 8. I think went over the number we might have given out.
I think so too. It was like 5.5.
But again, like some of that done during garbage time, things of that nature. Nothing to worry about on the defense with how they played. Is my takeaway from it.
Okay. I don't think anything new. We still are looking at the secondary going clamp down and be perfect, but you can't be perfect. It's football. It's not like the other team is out there too to play. So I'm not really nitpicking the defense. You're right.
And so now it comes into, okay, you're 5-0. You know what some of your shortcomings have been in a few of these games. They haven't hurt you yet. They haven't made you pay with a loss yet, but you know exactly what to improve on. So now Bama comes. I mean, Brendan, I don't know if you were at the game, obviously,
yes,
for homecoming, and that was happening at the same time as Alabama, Georgia. I got to watch a good amount of that game while Mizzou UMass was going on. Bama looks good.
They look real good. I saw the end of it.
Their defense is playing really well. I think Ty Simpson is playing like a better quarterback right now than Lenoris Sellers is even. That might be a hot take. I don't know, but I would think this point, once Ty Simpson comes into Columbia, he will be the best quarterback that Mizzou has faced to this point.
I think that's fair.
He's been awesome since the Florida State game, which was his first ever start. And now Alabama's rolling like the way everyone expected them to. So as they roll into Columbia, is this all of us do you have confidence in Mizzou in this game after what you've seen through 5 games of what they've shown on the field?
If my answer is no, or if it's any less confident than I was 3 days ago, it's more because of Alabama than Mizzou. I will admit that. Like I was kind of iffy on Alabama after obviously the Florida State loss, and then it's like, well, they beat Wisconsin real bad. Wisconsin stinks. Like that's what it is. That's kind of like your Kansas game for Mizzou, where like, I think Kansas would probably beat Wisconsin this year on a neutral field, but we kind of have found out that Kansas. I was higher on Kansas than I should have been. Their defense just sucks.
Who they lose to Cincinnati this week?
They lost, and I watched a lot of that game, and they lost to Cincinnati. Defense, you knew that final drive was coming, where like there was a moment where KU could have intercepted a pass, and they dropped it, and from there, since he just like didn't matter what down and distance, they weren't going to stop him from accruing 10 yards 4 times. It just wasn't going to happen. So I kind of view Alabama in the way of like, okay, sure, you beat Wisconsin by a lot, but they're kind of a mid team this year, and so show me something. Well, crap. They showed me something this weekend, and I didn't obviously watch the whole game, but I watched most of the fourth quarter. We departed right after they didn't play Mr. Brightside. Very disappointing. I had to explain to my young son
they did not
that they
do
weren't
that
play
after
his favorite song.
That didn't happen in the Louisiana game either. I guess
that's what I was not at that game. That's family weekend. This was homecoming. I assume that's why. And like by the time they would have done it in this game, people had left. Like it was the UMass game. It's kind of what you bargain for when you put UMass on for homecoming. But I think part of it is like clearly, as much as maybe on social media, the administration leans into the Mr. Brightside stuff, they kind of lean out of it a little bit at times as well because of the obvious implications that come with it. And so I told my son, I'm like, we'll probably be winning by enough that we can play it after the third. We can leave after they play it, and then they didn't play it. And I was like,
oh no.
Crap.
So you probably just play it on your phone for him, say, hey,
I know, and to be clear, for those who may think I'm a terrible parent, he says boo KU. He came up with that, and that's what he's always said, and it's very adorable. So anyway, that was the one. That's actually the bigger nitpick that I have than anything that happened on the field. I was like, guys, you turned me into a liar with my toddler. Man. This is not good. Not a good look for dad. But in fairness, I did not. The Louisiana game that was in degrees, we stayed home for that one. We didn't end up going to that one. So I didn't know that there was a game for which they hadn't played it. Otherwise, I would have anticipated that this could have been a possibility for the homecoming game as well. But otherwise, That is what it is. I just had to share that because that was kind of funny from the game on Saturday. But yeah, Alabama, scary as hell. That's my takeaway.
Billy, what you got?
Yeah, this is a game I've had Missouri losing all offseason and for most of this season. But I will say Saturday made me feel confident that there is a very direct path. Alabama, again, pretty leaky in run defense. They gave up 220 to FSU.
Yeah, man.
200 plus to Georgia, who's averaging 7+ yards of carry. If Missouri can get that run game going early, limit possessions, hold a lead, I think there is a bigger path to victory, even if I feel like Alabama is really good.
No, look,
here's an early, can I give you an early over-under?
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks in advance? Over-under on time of possession for Alabama. Set it at about 10 minutes because they're going to throw all over Mizzou, and Mizzou is going to churn on the ground, and you end up tied with 2 minutes to play. I mean, that's the path to victory. It's to have your defense rested for that final drive because they might not be out there for very long relative to Mizzou's kind of methodical. And that's what's really tough about Alabama is, are you going to be able to like go first down, second down, third down, execute, first down, second down, third down, execute on the ground? It might be very tough to win a game against Bama that way with the quick strike potential that they will have through the air. But Billy is right. Like that would be a silver lining of, all right, there's no secret how Mizzou's going to attack them.
Because they did get Jam Miller back at running back for this game against Georgia, but he wasn't quite like he wasn't all that big of an impact, at least on the stat sheet. 16 carries, 46 yards. I do imagine that he'll get a little bit better as he gets healthier and is playing in more games. It's probably more of a threat, but it does line up well with what Mizzou does well. Like they run the ball and they stop the run. So then it comes down to, okay, as you're stopping the run against Alabama and you're making sure that guys are not leaking out in these run plays. All right, well, where's Ryan Williams? Where's Isaiah Horton? Where are these other guys that Bama likes to go to in these deep shots to flip the field and eventually flip the game? Like, because that's still an issue that Mizzou is trying to clean up, and it's not necessarily solved in one game. That's what the big thing is going to be over these next 2 weeks, is how can you keep up your propensity to stop the run against an SEC opponent that is, look, I think Alabama wants to run the ball, and they're going to try to, no doubt. They still ran it 38 times despite not being as effective as their opponent was at it. But you still need to find ways to have your secondary hold up against what's going to be a tough wide receiver group.
Yeah, because they go at least 3 deep. Jeremy Bernard is another guy who's had a really good start to the season. Not as loud of a game against Georgia, but he's capable. That's kind of the scary part, is stopping the run has to almost be a given before we talk about what Mizzou has to do to win the game. Like that part, you don't need, that goes unspoken. Like, okay, first you stop the run, and then can Mizzou do what it needs to win the game? I like it when Alabama's running the ball, though, because that means that they aren't potentially taking deep shots. I think they will be very pass happy against Mizzou, understanding that, there might be some openings and some opportunities there. I know it's big picture and we're still way away from this game, but since it's the bye week to come, we'll be thinking about Bama until it's here. I'm thinking Mizzou's going to have to win a turnover differential to win that Alabama game, because there's some stuff on paper that tells you this is going to be tough. Like I said, can you execute that methodical Mizzou offense? I don't think they're going to be going deep on the Bama pass defense. Gunnar Stockton had like 130 passing yards. Yeah. Georgia ran the ball well. Mizzou is going to have the opportunity, I think, to run the ball well. But beyond that, like to flip something, you might have to kind of, and I know that last night ended in a tie, but how the Cowboys were able to play against the Packers, I see some similarities there where Mizzou's going to, they had some timely turnovers that gave them short fields, gave them opportunities, and they executed to end up staying in that football game last night. Mizzou is going to feel like that against Bama. I don't know what the spread is, if there is one yet. Mizzou will be an underdog, and I think that's right. I wouldn't have said that before seeing Bama beat Georgia the way that they did. It's the way that they did, Andy, with what they did through the air.
875-KTGR, how do you feel about the Bama game now, Mizzou fans? And look, that will potentially be the game, the turnover margin. And it's equally as important to get those takeaways as it is to not give them right back. And look, I'm not sounding the alarm bells on this. This is not a concern yet. I said this on the knee-jerk reactions, which you can go and find on our podcast page from the UMass game. This is not a concern yet, but it's one play away from being one. like Bo Prabula, last 4 games has had at least 1 turnover. 3 straight games with a pick. And, and in the Kansas game, lost a fumble, went straight for points. Every single one of those turnovers resulted in points for the opponent. Like, again, he has done a fairly decent job of protecting the football in the large share of the game. But now the margins are razor thin. There've
been 1 play per game, even against bad opponents.
So if
like,
you're,
whoa,
if it's coming at any point during the game, you better hope that it's not at you can't predict what spot on the field it comes at. And if it really dooms Mizzou in an area, then who knows if they're going to be able to recover from it? Because again, the margins are so much thinner in SEC games.
There is still a path to an Alabama blowout win over Missouri, but there is very much a path to Mizzou grinding out. They've got to play their A game in so many different respects, but like the X's and O's of it, I think are really going to be fascinating to dive into over the next, whatever it is, 12 days before the game is here, because that's what we're looking forward to. And it is as big of a game as has existed for Missouri football in my lifetime. Like you could say, maybe I would say SEC championship game 2013, that was bigger. Yeah. But like when you think about what could potentially be still on the table, this is as other than that one. Yeah, 2007 obviously coming before that.
You can lose this game and still be in the playoff. Like it can happen still. Like it's a huge opportunity. It's a big game because of what it can mean for Mizzou if they win it. But like that, it's still, after you play it, you're still only halfway through the season, and there are ways to make up maybe what you lost in a game like this. So look, not trying to diminish
not
it.
Easy to do.
It's going to feel great. It's going to feel like a raucous atmosphere, everything like that. It's going to feel like a huge game. But we'll see how Mizzou.
I'm going to amend it. I'm going to amend it. As big of a game at Perot Field as you could come up with, because the other one happened in Georgia, the other one happened at Arrowhead. Find me bigger ones than this.
The I know you're saying 2013 A&M game, like that punches their ticket to the SEC championship game. I think that one's bigger than this.
Bigger, but I'm looking at now that there's an expanded playoff, and obviously with that game they could have won the next one and been in the national championship game, but let me hyperbolize for a minute. It's a dang big game at Perot Field in 2 weeks.
875-KTGR. Give us a call or a text. How do you feel now, Mizzou fans, about that Bama game that's coming in less than 2 weeks? The Tigers head into their bye week at 5-0. We'll ask Bill Connelly his thoughts on how Mizzou has looked through those 5 games, how Alabama looked over the weekend against Georgia, and the other major results from college football from this past weekend. Next year on The Big Show, KTGR.
The Big Show with Andy and Brendan continues next on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Lee's Tire Company. They're my car people. I'm proud to say it. And if you go to Lee's Tire Company, you'll be proud to say it too, because whenever I bring my car into Lee's Tire Company, I know that I'm getting an honest assessment of what my car needs. If I need new tires, I know they've got an incredible selection to choose from, and they run specials every single month to put money back in your pocket if you need those new tires. And also, they've been family owned and operated in mid-Missouri for decades, and they treat their customers the same way they treat their family. So if you haven't experienced the Lee's Tire Company difference yet, go and check them out at leestirecompany.com. If you need new tires, you can browse through their extensive catalog, see which ones you need for your vehicle, and then go check out one of their 3 locations. They're on the Business Loop in Columbia, they're at University Garage right by the MU campus, and they have a location in Centralia that you can check out. Lee's Tire Company, they are the place to go for tires in mid-Missouri. Go check them out at leestirecompany.com, because if it's round and rubber, Lee's sells it. leestirecompany.com.
Hey, it's Molly, and it's football season at Billiards. What he said was, our Missouri teams are going to be really good this year.
I did love me an old kiss.
That's right. So whether you watch on Saturdays or Sundays, Billiards has the biggest TVs in Columbia.
Have you given out old H2O?
Whether you're hydrating with H2O or a cold Missouri beer on tap, watch your favorite teams all season at Billiards.
You gotta have the boogie on down.
Billiards on Broadway. Now that's high quality.
Discover, explore, and soak in the views of the incredible landscapes that make up the last frontier, Alaska. Experience the diverse culture and rich history as we cruise the Pacific coast and explore the wilds of Denali, Glacier Bay, and beyond. And boy, do we have some good news. There are currently still seats available, but don't wait, as you only have until October 3rd to book this once-in-a-lifetime trip. To RSVP and learn more, go to ZimmerCommunications.com today.
KTGR and MU Healthcare Sports Medicine are highlighting a local athlete each week. It's the KTGR Athlete Spotlight.
This week features Hickman softball shortstop Megan Schinneberg. Over a 6-game stretch, Megan hit with a .562 average with 2 triples and 12 runs batted in. She also had 7 stolen bases, helping the QPs to a 5-1 record over that stretch.
That's the KTGR Athlete Spotlight. Thanks to MU Healthcare Sports Medicine, providing everything athletes need to be and stay at their best, because they're competitors too.
You've already met a few members of the Family Pond family. Now it's time to meet the newest one. Family Pond's South Columbia location is just off South Providence. And just like every Family Pond, it's got a personality all its own. Different jewelry, different tools, different gadgets and gear. That's the beauty of the family. No two stores are exactly alike. So after you stop by your favorite, swing by South Columbia. It's your newest Family Pond store to explore.
Not your traditional pawn shop. Family Pond.
Always ahead of the curve? Seem to know what's going to happen? Like a prophet? Prove it, Nostradamus, with Profit Shares. Predict the outcome of every black and gold game or whoever your favorite team is. It's all at Profit Shares, and it doesn't cost a thing to play. Make your predictions risk-free and win prizes like gift cards to Amazon, Chick-fil-A, and other favorites. Or donate your winnings to charities. Contests are open now. Play for free at ProfitShares.com. PROPHET shares.com.
Your daily fix of local sports lives here. This is The Big Show on KTGR.
So it might be hard for Mizzou fans to have a bye week. It's been a fun first 5 weeks of the season, and now the anticipation builds for Alabama in a couple of weeks. Call or text us at 875-KTGR if you want to weigh in on some Mizzou or college football. But the results over the weekend outside of the Mizzou-UMass game were pretty impactful when it comes to the playoff race, the SEC standings, and things like that. And let's talk all things college football now with Bill Connelly of ESPN. On Twitter at ESPN_Bill C, and go and read his great work over at ESPN.com. So, Bill, let's get it out of the way. Mizzou versus UMass. I mean, they pretty much did what they were supposed to do pretty successfully. How did you see Mizzou getting through that type of game? And now as they head into this bye week, what they're going to look like going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to be able to, be underwhelmed by a 36-point win. That's always the place you want to be. And I think that's where we were here. It was very clear Missouri wanted to stay as vanilla as possible for as long as possible, and got pretty predictable with play calling. UMass took advantage of that at times. I think they were able to anticipate certain things, and it didn't matter because they won by 36, and UMass had about 4 good offensive plays. So you kind of survived there. I do think we saw, if there's a red flag forming here, it's hard to tell if there is for sure because everything's been going pretty well. But I mean, Bro Perdula's taking a decent number of sacks. He's making about one pretty bad mistake per game in terms of just misreading coverages or whatever. And who knows? Maybe as the competition ramps up, that becomes more of a thing. But for right now, the main goal was to not get anybody hurt and make the homecoming crowd happy, and then get on your bye week. And they did all that.
Yeah, and we'll see how that goes for Mizzou. But now, as they get better through this bye week, or at least try to improve on what has been lacking here through the first 5 weeks, Alabama looms. Now, Bama on the road against Georgia, pretty darn impressive with how they were able to put that together. And now they get Vandy coming up before they take on Mizzou. What have you seen from, that was the first real test for Bama since the Florida State game where they looked bad, let's be honest. And then they have a bunch of cupcakes to then build up to that Georgia game. So as you have watched them through these last few weeks, what has been the thing that you've noticed about how they have mainly improved from that early loss?
Well, Ty Simpson's obviously been really, really good since that opening. He seemed a little overwhelmed in the opener, wasn't getting nearly enough help from his teammates, from his defense, from anything else. Was throwing a lot on the run and just not doing a good job of it. But it seems like they've managed to help him settle down, get his timing right, stay in the pocket a little bit more. And he was really good against Georgia. Now, this isn't this is like a top 15-ish Georgia. It's not number one Georgia. And, they really shut things down in a really strange way. They didn't even try to do anything offensively. It was like it was waiting for them. They were waiting for Georgia to catch back up in the second half, and then they'd go back to their playbook, and they never had to, so they never did. So it was kind of hard to get a full read off of that. But, this is a very, very talented team, good enough to win at Georgia, even if it's only a top 15 Georgia. And, Missouri's going to obviously have to play really, really well.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show, KTGR, and the KTGR app as we talk some college football here. And yeah, you mentioned Georgia now with that first loss that they take, and the fact that they got that win against Tennessee still propels, and they're going to have maybe one or two more instances where they could trip up. But what do you do with a 3-loss Georgia team, Bill, if in fact that is their fate here coming soon? Because they'll still have some tough games coming up here.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really, really interesting. It does feel like we're going to end up with a lot of 2- and 3-loss SEC teams. And, it's kind of funny, we could be in a situation where obviously you win some big games, you're going to get credit for quality wins, but you're not going to beat like a top 5 team because there won't be any top 5 teams in the SEC. Everybody's going to be like tied for 10th or something. And it's going to be really weird to see how the committee handles that. Like right now in my SP Plus rankings, the SEC has by far the best average rating, but the Big Ten has the top 4 teams in the country. Like it's just a whole bunch of 5 through 15 right now. And it's harder to tell how the committee is going to respond to some of these wins, whether it's going to be enough to get a 9-3 team in, especially with as many teams in the ACC and Big 12 looking like they could finish 11-1 or 10-2. It's going to be, I don't think we've seen the committee tested in this way. And I'm really curious how they handle it.
Yeah, and another interesting team to bring up. Obviously, LSU has tough games remaining, but they take their first loss over the weekend with Ole Miss coming away with a big-time key win. They vault up in the AP poll. How is SP Plus right now viewing Ole Miss? And with the schedule remaining, really does seem like a path to 10 wins is there for the taking.
Yeah, like right now they have they're 8th overall. They're projected favorites in all but one game. The borderline for them is right between 10 and 11 wins. So, they've already avenged 2 of last year's losses too. So everything's going really well. They suffered a quarterback injury and found out their backup was better. That's not something you ever want to find out, but it's worked out really well for them. Defense, I'm still not really trusting all that much, but it's good, and they're looking like they're in really, really good shape right now. So they're safe. And honestly, the using SP Plus, the SEC race as a whole, with Ole Miss unbeaten and Missouri unbeaten and facing not an easy schedule, but easier than some at least, and Vanderbilt unbeaten, we're in a really super interesting position here where there are 10 teams with between a 5 and 16% chance of winning the league right now. Number 1 is Ole Miss at 16%. Number 2 is Missouri at 12.9%. And, this is a good year to not have that 2027 schedule that's on the horizon. It's at least manageable. And if you can get through to 6-2, that might be enough this year. It's going to be it's just going to be a giant logjam.
Well, and certainly Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the Big Show, KTGR. I wonder for Mizzou's sake, does just getting to 10 wins kind of help them out a little bit? And maybe that means they don't go to Atlanta, but they're safely in a 10-win situation. I know Brendan would love to go, but I mean, how do you kind of see that dynamic with what Mizzou's, again, back half of the schedule looks tougher than it did at the start of the year now, but 10 wins with that without going to Atlanta. I mean, they're locked in, and probably that's a favorable spot for them.
Yeah, I mean, 10. You never know for sure about 10-2. Some years you'll get a couple 9-3 teams in. Some years there'll be too many 10-2 teams. And granted, if Missouri, even if the schedule strength isn't as amazing as other SEC teams, like Penn State, if they're at 10-2, they're gonna have no quality wins. Or I guess they'd have one with 2 losses as well, most likely. Notre Dame's not gonna have any quality wins except maybe USC at 10-2. So it does seem like it's a good year to be stuck in that logjam, and Missouri would be in pretty good shape. I mean, obviously the playoffs the goal, but if you're a Missouri or an Ole Miss or a Vandy, you want that SEC title thing. I still think you want that shot, especially since they didn't really punish SMU all that much for losing in the conference title game. So maybe that's a good sign too. If you can make it to Atlanta, you go to Atlanta and you take your chances.
I think that's right. But then if you're named Missouri, you already start to think about, oh man, what if they did X, Y, or Z? I guess two teams that would be super relevant to that, in my opinion, are both from the Big Ten. And I don't know exactly what have to happen for Indiana to go 10-2 and for Illinois to potentially pull out 10-2 despite, the loss they've taken. But both of those seem possibilities at least. Yep. And then I'm like, okay, Mizzou goes 10-3 because they lose the SEC championship game. I guess more of a specific question for you, Bill, is like those two teams in particular, after you get through like the Penn States, the Oregon, the Ohio States, and the Big Ten, what do you look at for the path for those two teams if you had to estimate?
Well, Indiana right now is third in SP+. They continue to not revert back to what everybody in their head thinks Indiana is going to be. They just continue to thrive. And so, like right now, they've got a 43% chance of finishing 11-1 or better, which means beating either Oregon or Penn State on the road. We're in strange territory right now with Indiana. But no, I mean, if they're 10-2, if they're 10-2, but they lose to Oregon and Penn State, that means their best win's going to be against like an Illinois, who we still don't really like. They're obviously going to have a good record, but we don't know if they're going to be like top 15 or like top 25 yet. And that really might be about it for them. So that's going to be a really interesting call on the committee's part. And then for Illinois itself, they always manage to make you fumble. They always manage to get just the right plays and win those close games. They are going to be projected underdogs against Ohio State and maybe at Washington too. I do like Washington, and my numbers like Washington. But they're looking pretty good. What are they looking at right now? For 10-2, they're looking at still only about a 19% chance. So SP Plus has been assuming they're going to slip up for a while, and they did against Indiana. So they could absolutely do that again. But USC was a reminder that they really do like those close games and they know how to navigate.
Bill Connelly of ESPN here on the big show, KTGR and the KTGR app. So now with Oregon winning that game at Penn State, I mean, it was certainly a big test for them, their first real big test. But does it say more about Oregon or more about the continuing narrative, which James Franklin acknowledged afterward, and I give him credit. Like he said, no, it's not a narrative. It's a fact. We can't win these big games right now.
Yeah, it really does feel like the Penn State. I mean, Penn State's very talented, and at any moment, like I mentioned in my column last night, like Tom Osborne couldn't win the big game, Mac Brown couldn't win the big game, Bobby Bowden couldn't win the big game, and then suddenly they did, and then they kept winning the big game for a while, at least Bowden and Osborne. So. At any moment that could change. But it really does feel like it always feels like Penn State holds too many cards for too long. And then when they're down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, suddenly they're making all the great play calls again. And then it just feels like the game model they follow isn't right for these games, where Oregon just comes out throwing punches. It feels like Dan Lanning's he loves coaching in these games more than anybody ever has in the history of college football. And it shows. I think in the end, like Penn State is what they are, and they're going to continue to be really talented and good. But I think it did say a lot about Oregon that they walked into that environment, Dante Moore playing in the loudest game of his life, the biggest game of his life, and never looked out of sorts for a half second. That's just a really, really with it team. And I think Oregon and Ohio State are probably the two most trustworthy teams in the sport right now.
Certainly seems that way. I had one more SEC question to kind of ask from this past weekend. And look, like, SEC games are always tough. I'm not saying that because of this game, either of these teams look worse than they maybe should. But, I mean, Tennessee goes to overtime with Mississippi State. They're still able to get that win. A&M, maybe a little bit sluggish at home against Auburn. Which team of those two, A&M and Tennessee, would you be most concerned holding up going forward?
Well, I think, with A&M's game, it seemed like a case more of just like stupid things happened. Like they dominated, but missed a field goal, dominated, but turned the ball over in the red zone, or I think it was red zone. It was like a series of miscues. Otherwise, they were great and they would have won that game most of the time. Tennessee was in a dogfight. They needed 2 defensive touchdowns to win. And I mean, Mississippi State might be a top 30 caliber team this year. Like they really kind of looked the part. They looked so much more with it than they did last season. But Tennessee was definitely in more danger. They needed the breaks. A&M had breaks go against them and still won. But all that, I think Tennessee's a better team because I think Mississippi State might be better than Auburn. And so, I guess it depends on how you look at it. But both of those teams love, I was higher on A&M than most people before the year. I'm kind of stubbornly sticking to that, even though their defense isn't quite as good as I thought. But they can rush the passer, apparently, although everybody can against Auburn.
looking ahead to this coming weekend, obviously Mizzou on bye, a couple of ranked matchups, and I guess what do you expect from Vanderbilt is my biggest question, since I've been such a Vandy honk in recent weeks.
It's kind of like talking about Indiana. Like, we assume, because we know general recruiting rankings and talent levels, that at some point they fall off. They fell off last year. They beat Alabama. They had a couple of really solid performances, and then they kind of ran out of gas. And so maybe that happens again. But all we can say for sure is that this season, in the 5 games they played this season, they have been dynamite. And so if they play like they have all season, and if Alabama plays like it has all season, Alabama should be a slight favorite, and that's about it. So it really just depends on those assumptions we bring into this game. We know we saw Nick Saban's Alabama, bring an upstart to town and end all upstart dreams within about 4 seconds. We'll see. Kalen DeBoer's, Alabama isn't Nick Saban's Alabama, and they lost to Vandy last year. So obviously we know who has the more talent, but Vanderbilt's been awesome this year. And until that stops, we should treat them like it.
Certainly so. Monster matchup coming up in Tuscaloosa. And then also later that night, Miami and Florida State. Now, Florida State going to Virginia and losing on that Friday night game. Obviously concern for them as they take on what has looked like one of the best teams in college football to this point, Miami. But the fact that Florida State gets to host it, I mean, they obviously welcomed in Alabama and got the better of them. How do you kind of see those two matching up?
Yeah, I think with Florida State, that was just kind of a stuff happens kind of loss to a certain degree. They lose a fumble right out of the gate. They had that amazing interception in the red zone that Virginia pulled, like basically yanks the ball out of Castellano's hands, more or less. And so, and that they went up 14-0. All the credit to Virginia. They are a legitimate top 40 team. And they kept fighting back when Florida State came back, but with an average number of bounces, FSU wins that game. Assuming they respond well, which, I mean, after everything that happened last year, we'll see how an FSU team responds to adversity and setbacks. But if they play their B+ game and Miami plays its B+ game, this is going down to the wire. Miami doesn't make big plays. It's been really kind of interesting. Like, their defense is very improved. And if they follow the blueprint that Virginia followed last year in containing Castellanos, make him throw the ball instead of running out on the edge, then, maybe that's all it takes for them to win. But this is a very inexplosive offense. And if Florida State tackles well, they're going to be around. So I expect a really good game despite last week's result.
Yeah, intriguing there to see who can come out on top, and then several other games to be watching, and we'll be watching them all with Bill Connelly of ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at ESPN_Bill C, and read his great stuff over at ESPN.com. Great to have him here on the Big Show KTGR. Thanks for coming on, Bill. Hope you're well, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
Big Show is on at 4:44 KTGR and the KTGR app. Like, it will be those two games certainly going to take a lot of the attention, but it's also a week, Brendan, where maybe there's an upset here or there that's then causes more friction. I don't know. Like, A&M hosts Mississippi State that weekend.
Yeah. Mississippi State needed the home win over Tennessee. I predicted they'd win outright, and they came damn close. But but what that does tell you, they fell short. But it tells you, you can't overlook anybody. I just think it's a lot easier to do it at home. That was a ready-made spot for Mississippi State to shock the world, and they really almost were able to pull it off. I'm combing through the schedule. There's one that I do see as a possibility. It's in the SEC. Can you name the team that I think is in danger this week that I'm thinking of?
Let's see here. Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Is it the Fighting Arch Mannings? Is that what you're saying?
It's the Fighting Arch Mannings at Florida. I mean, if ever there was a spot, ugly game, right? Florida offense hasn't looked good. Texas offense, when they're playing actual opponents, and Florida's defense has been solid in their games, I could see 13-10. If something crazy were going to happen, it would happen in Gainesville this week, in my opinion.
Call or text us 875-KTGR to get your college football thoughts in. We have Under the Bus coming up next. The Bozos at the Ryder Cup brought down the mood, I thought. Come on now. This is not how you should act at these events. We'll get to that and more in Under the Bus next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Jones. This live local sports center is brought to you by Lee's Tire Company. It's rounded rubber. Lee sells at Lee'sTireCompany.com. Missouri moves to 5-0 after their win against UMass this weekend, 42-6, the final. It was announced today their matchup against 10th-ranked Alabama a week from Saturday will air on ABC. Kickoff time set for 11 a.m. You can hear that one right here on KTGR with the Yuengling Tiger Game Day show beginning at 8. Bo Previla set a Missouri record this weekend. Most consecutive passes completed with 21. The Chiefs moved to 2-2 after a big win over the Ravens, 37-24. Passing touchdowns for Patrick Mahomes. It was the most points for the Chiefs since September of 2023 in a win over the Chicago Bears. The Cardinals lose 2-0 in their season finale against the Cubs, and the Cubs swept them in Chicago. The Cardinals have now missed the playoffs for the third consecutive season, finishing at 78-84. Good for fourth in the NL Central. John Moiselock had his final day today as president of baseball operations. Hein Bloom will take over. Royals win 9-2 over the Athletics to finish the season 82-80. Now 2 consecutive winning seasons for the Royals. First time they've been able to do that since 2014-2015. Up next, your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking mostly clear skies with a chance of some steam fog in river valleys tonight. We'll drop down into the low 60s. Tomorrow we'll see sunshine again with highs in the upper 80s, and heat looks to continue. We'll see partly cloudy skies tomorrow night with temperatures falling into the low 60s, highs back into the 80s on Wednesday. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
Did you miss the Mizzou Play of the Week?
Inside handoff, cutting it back right, Hardy. Hardy gets to the 10. Hardy right sideline, runs over a man to the pylon. Touchdown, Missouri. His third rushing touchdown of the game. This one from 16. Ahmad Hardy goes over 100 yards rushing as he just ran over Ferris, the safety.
The Mizzou Play of the Week is powered by Yuengling. Your home for Mizzou football is KTGR.
Well, football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action because, Andy, you can select your entries and win money right here in Missouri. What are you looking forward to with some more football on Monday night?
Yeah, 2 Monday night games tonight. That should be fun and plenty more players to choose from as you make your entries on Underdog. I like Jalen Waddle to go higher than 46.5 receiving yards in this game. I think they'll funnel a few more targets his way as they take on the Jets. And then in the other game, I think the Bengals will have some good moments against the Broncos defense. And I think that means good things for one Chase Brown in this game. I'll go higher than 56.5 rush yards for him.
There's Andy taking a couple of stands for those football players, and it really is that easy on Underdog. Choose whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. And if you get your entries right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. So download the app today and sign up with promo code KTGR to score $100 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code KTGR. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery, and it often hides in plain sight. Be alert. People who seem fearful, isolated, or who don't have their ID or money may need your help. To share a tip, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888. Together, we can protect victims and stop trafficking in Missouri.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
Michael Agnew here with API Project Fitness. I understand that life is hard, and if you're soft, it will squish you. You must find a way to be hard. Armor yourself up mentally and physically and emotionally. Our goal is to help you find your inner strength and hardness. The difference between strength and weakness is choice. With our group fitness classes and personal training and open gym, the choice is yours. Choose strength. Find us at apiprojectfitness.com or call us at 573-268-6944 to make an appointment.
School's back. Schedules are packed, and the last thing you need is a list of home repairs. So reclaim your weekends with Bax Homeworks, the fastest, most affordable handyman service in mid-Missouri. Whether it's mounting that new TV, fixing leaky faucets, or replacing a ceiling fan, Bax has you covered. No job's too small, and no wait is too long. Visit Bax Homeworks on Facebook for monthly giveaways and awesome prizes. For more, visit BaxHomeworks.com. Bax Homeworks, getting your to-do list done.
Every single day, you're making a first impression on thousands of people online, and you might not even realize it. Your website has real marketing power. It can showcase your products and services, promote special offers, and reach a much wider audience through search engines and social media. And if you're doing it right, your website will change and evolve with your growing business. Make sure the first impression you're making is a lasting one with Zimmer Communications. You know business, we grow business. ZimmerCommunications.com.
Step into comfort with this new property from Atterbury Auction and Realty Company in South Columbia. This property features a 4,000 square foot home on 11.5 acres with plenty of room to spread out. With 5 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, a walkout basement, sun porch, storm shelter, John Deere room, and more. Plus a private pond with wide open spaces, bringing you a peaceful getaway just minutes from town. For open house dates, bidding info, and more, visit
Atterbury Sales. AtterburySales.com.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got The Big Show on KTGR.
It's time to go under the bus on The Big Show.
I know that technically when you write these stories about these events that you have to use the word fans. Like, I get that. I don't think that's correct when we're describing the people that were berating folks like Rory McIlroy and others on the on Team Europe at the Ryder Cup at Bethpage this weekend. Fans are folks that root on their favorite teams, their favorite players, and in those events, support them on to do them well, cheer loud for those people that they like, to want to win in those events. But the people who literally followed around Rory McIlroy hole to hole for 5 hours and were saying stuff about his family and berating him in that way. No, those aren't fans. There's a different word for that, and I don't know if I can use it here. That's who those people are. and Rory McIlroy made sure to call them out, and yeah, he should, because they don't belong in the sport. Like, that's not how you behave at those events.
Yeah, New York. I don't know.
Oh, well.
What are you going to say?
I wasn't even going to go that angle, but hey, now that you take it, I'm not going to push back on that either. Yeah.
I mean, it feels kind of related to the area that it was. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know.
But you're right. I guess
it's unfortunate that was a takeaway. We're talking about that before we're talking about the golf that ended up being pretty compelling on Sunday, with USA almost staging the comeback.
If they weren't awful on either Friday or Saturday, they're winning that thing.
Right.
What's going on?
But I would wonder how, we're bad at golf. I'm bad at golf, but man, the Russell Henley putt, I was thinking about that. Just like, how do you live that one down? Just to leave it short in the way that he did a couple times actually. Yeah. But Shane Lowry though. I mean, I like Shane Lowry. It was fun to see his celebration, but I'm supposed to root for USA. So I was like, I wish he wouldn't have made that, but I wish Henley would have just made his so we could have had some more drama. But
exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. Either way, the folks who were at the event just to be whats. They're under the bus for all of that. We'll get some more of it at 5:25. But yes, under the bus to Cubs fans for complaining about Holly Marble walking Michael Bush and everything, and it's like
maybe I'll add it to the top 5 at 5 so I can lay out my stance. Of why there is no argument, Cubs fans, for thinking that Ollie was in the wrong for intentionally walking Michael Bush when he actually into the cycle.
There's absolutely not.
Under the bus.
Apparently, there's an argument that Dave Portnoy was trying to make. He's part of Big Noon Kickoff now on Fox. His rant.
Big Noon Kickoff.
Yeah, exactly. His rant was that we should ban lightning delays in football.
Absolutely
play
Dave.
through the lightning. No, what are we doing?
Just think about the superpowers the guys could get if they get struck by lightning during the game. They could, it could be like a Spider-Man situation.
was trying to say, like, you know what? If you get struck by lightning so big. No, Dave, no, not
occupational
so
hazard.
Not so big.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
I'm sure it went viral, though.
Yeah,
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, well done.
Under the
Got us to respond, I suppose, everybody in that realm. But yeah, that was out of left field.
It's time for the sweetest thing in sports on The Big Show.
Well, congrats to John Rooney, up for the Ford C. Frick Award, goes to the top broadcaster of the year, and essentially puts you into the Hall of Fame, I believe, with this type of award. He is among 10 nominees. I believe Joe Buck is also on the list, as well as Skip Carey. So several St. Louis ties with the nominee list this year. But John Rooney, voice of the Cardinals, very well deserved, friend of the show, and we'll see who gets it this year.
Yeah, very well deserved. A huge, big time honor, and yeah, I would love to see John Rooney recognized in that way. Lots of deserving candidates I feel every year, but very much correct that he is among those and on that list for sure.
And sad that the Cardinal season is over. We don't get to hear John Rooney on the air for the rest of the year, but it'll be back very soon. And the offseason going to be very interesting for the St. Louis Cardinals as Chaim Bloom officially takes over tomorrow. You'll hear him talk to media tomorrow. We'll see what he says and what's that could mean for the Cardinals offseason. 525 will discuss what we expect from it. And also the Cubs fans complaining about Michael Busch getting intentionally walked. Get over it, folks. Come on. But at 5:05, got to talk about Xavier Worthy, baby. Coming back and providing more than a spark for that Kansas City offense that got going against Baltimore on Sunday. How do you feel now about the Chiefs after they get to 2-2? We'll talk about it next here on The Big Show.
There's something special happening here, and it's because of big, bold ideas like yours. We are Fuse 32 Marketing, a marketing agency with a roster full of top-tier talent. Our digital ads and social pages pop off the screen. Our designers crush creative concepts, and we have some outrageously creative writers and producers to tell the stories of the brands we're building. Fuse 32 is redefining marketing with cutting-edge strategies and limitless creativity. Join our sales team at Fuse 32 Marketing, where there's nothing we can't do. Apply now at Fuse32.com.
Fall is here, and the savings are everywhere at Buckeye. From farm and ranch to auto, home, and pet, you'll find unbeatable prices in every aisle. Stock up on tools and hardware, feed and supplies, seasonal items like pumpkins and mums, and brand new fall clothing arrivals. And when you join the free Buckeye Buyers Club, you'll save even more on every purchase. Now through the end of the year. Don't wait. Make this your season to save at Buckeye, your farm, ranch, auto, home, pet, and fall savings destination.
It was 2:30 on a Tuesday when the phone rang. Brian Ware Plumbing answered the call. It was a dismayed wife. Fresh off vacation, her and her hubby came home to a wrecked water heater. It had sprung a leak, a bad one. So while the plumbing team took care of that leaky water heater, Brian's certified restoration guide, Josh, with 2 decades of experience, came in to restore the area and stop mold in its tracks. Another day, another job, another expert added to the team. Ho-hum. Better call Brian and unplug your plumbing problems. BrianWarePlumbing.com.
From Branson Landing to the Capitol Dome, Union Station to the Tigers' home. Big old service is Missouri's best. Our trusted team outpaces the rest. Show me state coverage wherever you go. We've got you covered at Big O.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, Mid-Missouri's total sports station. KTGR
is Sports Center. I'm Nick DeLuca. Wild Card Series getting going tomorrow in baseball. Teams that missed the playoffs doing some evaluating. Couple managers dismissed today. The Twins are firing Rocco Baldelli after 7 years with the team. Twins went 70-92 this season, 19-35 post-trade deadline. Only the Rockies were worse in baseball. The Giants are firing Bob Melvin after an 81-81 season. San Francisco has not made the playoffs since 2020. 2021. The Mets, meanwhile, retaining manager Carlos Mendoza despite an end-of-season nosedive. President of baseball operations David Stern says they will evaluate the rest of the coaching staff this week. Red Sox getting set for the wild card series against the Yankees. Righty Lucas Giolito will not be on the roster with an elbow injury. In the NFL, Chargers tackle Joe Alt suffered a high ankle sprain in yesterday's loss to the Giants. Team still uncertain on severity. Ravens dealing with some big injuries. All-Pro linebacker Roquan Smith suffered a hamstring strain, will miss a few weeks. Star defensive tackle Nnamdi Metabike out for the season.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. We make the claims process easy so you can get back on the road in no time. It's why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive. See for yourself at progressive.com.
From Faro,
15 to the 10, to the house.
Bush,
Back to the wall. And it's got her.
and Arrowhead,
Touchdown. Kansas City.
to your speakers.
This is the big show, baby.
Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is The Big Show with Andy and Brendan on KTGR.
Well, the Chiefs' offense looks a lot better now. Xavier Worthy back in the fold, and he seemed to make an impact. Patrick Mahomes also with his best game of the season, as we talk coming up in a few minutes about the Chiefs getting the best of the Ravens, winning 37-20, getting to 2-2 on the season as they prepare for their next one next Monday night against the Jaguars. 875-KTGR if you want to talk about that revitalized, it seems, Chiefs offense. Also, we'll talk about the Cardinals and what will be a very intriguing offseason as Chaim Bloom takes over the reins of the baseball operations in St. Louis. So call or text us. We'll talk about some Cardinals at 525. You can weigh in on YouTube. You can comment. We're live now at KTGR Sports. You can also call or text us at 875-KTGR. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
Well, Mizzou got the homecoming win over the weekend. They got it by a big margin as well, 42-6 over UMass. Didn't quite cover the 44.5-point spread, but still ended up with a decisive victory. I think when they schedule games like these, it's still within our rights to be able to talk about them like football games. And so, yeah, I'll nitpick a little bit and say, I think the Tigers were a little bit sluggish in this game. They didn't probably dominate 4 quarters like they did against Louisiana. But also, I'll agree with what Andy said earlier in the show. There's nothing that happened in this game that changed my opinion really on Mizzou, what they can be, what they will be as the schedule ramps up. But they played with their food for a little while before cruising in a 36-point win.
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
Somewhere I was definitely wrong. There's just no way to stand behind it. I was a big-time skeptic of Xavier Worthy being healthy enough or capable enough with his torn labrum to be able to play and look like himself. Yeah, those questions to me were answered completely on Sunday. 37-20, the Chiefs blasted the Ravens, and Worthy was a big reason why. 2 carries for 38 yards, 5 receptions for 83 yards. He was all over the field, and just his mere presence, I think, helped to unlock what Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense were looking to do. 4 touchdown passes for the Chiefs in a decisive victory.
Number 3.
There's Jordan for 3, yes!
Earlier this afternoon at Busch Stadium, John Mozeliak held his final press conference as president of baseball operations of the Cardinals. He's outgoing. Chaim Bloom is incoming. He'll have his own press conference tomorrow to talk about some forward-facing things, but largely Mo didn't sound today like a man with many regrets. Said the goods outweighed the bads over the years and understood that the drumbeat was getting louder for a new, fresh voice in the organization, and so he decided it was time to step away. But really now all the attention will turn to what will Chaim Bloom do in this kind of rebuild period that the Cardinals are embarking upon.
Number 4.
Oh, shanked it.
Cardinals related, Ollie Marmol was not wrong to walk Michael Bush intentionally over the weekend, and there's really no good argument to be made that he was wrong to do so. Yeah, it was maybe a little bit petty. Michael Bush had a chance to get a cycle. He was a single away, but in the 8th inning of that same game, that same inning, Dansby Swanson stole third base to secure a 2020 season. Everybody was just stat padding at this point, and so Ollie Marmol was like, you're not going to stat pad. And look, the game was still in the balance. The Cardinals ultimately brought the tying run to the plate in the 9th inning, so I just do not see an argument that Cubs fans would have in either direction to complain about this one.
Number 5.
What is the 5 fingers? Say to the face, slap!
And in the NFL on Sunday, we got to see Ashton Jeanty be great again. And I'm convinced it's because he brought back the eerie Michael Myers stance.
That's the Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
Call or text us at 875-KTGR. And for the uninitiated, go through again, Brendan, what that is, the stance you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the Raiders, when they drafted him, said that, and I don't know who it exactly came from, but like the way he would stand in the backfield at Boise State waiting for a play, it would just be like he's just like standing there straight up, creepy, looking like Michael Myers when he was about to like do some stuff in the slasher films, right? The Halloween movies.
Yeah.
Like he would always walk so slow, but he'd just be like standing there. It's very menacing to look at. But it's like he's not really like in action mode. He's just kind of standing there. And then the snap happens and he springs into action. And I guess the Raiders looked to change that, to alter that. And so he wasn't really doing it. And then I guess they decided it was okay for him to do it. And Pete Carroll said he loved it. And so he had 155 yards and 3 touchdowns in the game, I guess, on Sunday. He looked great. He was great for my fantasy team. And I like kind of I don't know if it's like considered it wasn't professional to do it. I don't know why they made him change it at first, but he did it again yesterday. I noticed kind of Jahmyr Gibbs has a very nonchalant stance in the backfield before the play gets going. And maybe there's something to that, just like relaxes you. I don't know, but it was cool to watch.
I mean, to each their own. Like running backs can do whatever they want, I think, as far as
if it works.
As long as you're not
man.
moving, like stay set at the snap and everything. Don't get a false start penalty or whatever. Like, but just do whatever is comfortable when it comes to that, or whatever gets you ready for the play. Yeah, it is
like, and I guess they wanted him in a more like kind of ready, like hulking stance of like getting going. And what works for him is to just be standing there chilling, and then they snap the ball, and then he's great, obviously. But I don't know. Maybe it's all in the stance for Ashton.
Well, but then you look a little bit more intimidating to the defense, then, as opposed.
It's like
to
this
you
guy thinks he can just stand there
down.
I know. When you're crouched, it's like you're ready to make that first step, I guess. But again, production's going to speak on this, and so if he's productive with the stance, let the guy do his stance. It seems to be working.
875-5847 if you want to weigh in on the stance that Ashton Genty had for the Raiders this weekend. And boy, oh boy, in Chiefs land, things a little bit happier now. Xavier Worthy back, Brendan.
I'm not sad about it.
I'm not an expert, but I think he looked okay.
I'm sad to be as wrong as I was about anything. But I was very much wrong about this. I was almost as wrong about this as I was about Indiana. We talked with Bill Connelly earlier, and he kind of made reference to like, we always expect like, okay, the other shoe's going to drop for Indiana. I think their quarterback is real this year. And that's a reason that they're actually like, they're a better team than they were last year. And I was wrong about them. I picked Illinois to win that game. And Indiana won by 53. I was almost as wrong about Xavier Worthy, although I did leave open the possibility that he would be good. I just said, I need to see it first. Well, it felt pretty stupid because I was seeing it all over the field yesterday afternoon in the way that he absolutely returned and unlocked the Chiefs offense. Now I think about it and go, well, Xavier Worthy's back, but Rashee Rice isn't back. Add him to the mix if he's healthy. Oh my gosh, the Chiefs are going to be the same as always, and it's going to be a really explosive offense.
Well, we don't know what they'll look like because, again, they have never had Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and Hollywood Brown healthy for the same game.
I know.
So,
or Tyquan Thornton.
Real heart and soul. Like, come on, caught another touchdown this weekend. Like, that's a pretty darn good group. If Tyquan Thornton is like, he's your perfect fourth wide receiver 4, right? For this offense. And so I think when you see that, obviously things can really look up for the Chiefs for this. But I mean, I'm seeing a lot of also, okay, is it the Chiefs offense or is it the Baltimore defense?
Right.
I mean, we could have seen this coming. Like, oh, what's wrong with Baltimore? This is their fault. They had their defense could not stop a nosebleed against their first few teams. Now it's continuing on, and they are so banged up on that side of the football. Like, look, I saw the Chiefs put together a pretty complete performance on both sides. It's just a defense that Lamar Jackson couldn't really do much against the Chiefs defensively. I know Justice Hill broke out for that one run at the end. It was a 71-yard run.
The backups were
right.
in. I mean,
that's it, though. Derrick Henry, 42 yards. Lamar Jackson, I mean, he got out for 48 yards at the times that he could scramble. But other than that, I mean, the Chiefs put together a pretty solid all-around performance against a team that we all thought should be good, at least in the regular season.
Yeah, it was a very complete effort by the Chiefs. I don't have any nitpicking because you're going to give up some points to a Lamar Jackson-led offense, but they really kind of didn't. Like, Lamar was injured late in the game, was out of the game for, the whole fourth quarter and some of the third quarter. The whole fourth quarter was pointless. It was a exercise in futility. Like, the game was over. I'm surprised they left the Chiefs starters in for about as long as they did. And same for the rest of the Ravens offense playing with Cooper Rush. Like, the Chiefs just flat dominated. Like, they opened up a can. Like, it was a very decisive game. And like, what the Ravens ultimately become is a fair question. Like, will they be as good as we thought they were supposed to be? Probably no. Is that injury to Lamar Jackson going to loom? I had told you last week when we did our segment talking about who could bounce back more readily from a 1-3 start should the Chiefs or Ravens have lost this game.
Yeah.
I looked it up that the Ravens were minus 1,200 still to make the playoffs, like a shoe-in to make the playoffs before that game. They were a slight favorite to the Chiefs, but more of a coin flip. And they lose the game, obviously. The Ravens are now minus 475 to make the playoffs. So definitely took a hit. It's still favored to make it. They've got a much more manageable schedule. They've had a gauntlet so far. Outside of the Cleveland game, they've had Super Bowl contenders on their schedule, to be totally honest. The Lions, the Bills, and the Chiefs are all teams that if they end up in the Super Bowl, nobody's going to be utterly shocked to their core. So the Ravens have fallen flat against each of those contenders, which means they're probably more of a pretender. But it's just really interesting to see the way that unfolds. And then we have to sort of base our view of the Chiefs off of what we think the Ravens defense is. I think the Ravens defense is like probably a bottom 12 to 15 unit. I don't know if it's the worst defense in the NFL though, because that's 3 really good teams and quarterbacks and offenses that they have played in the first 4 weeks. And the one time they didn't play a good team, they held the Browns to 17 or whatever. But they're definitely going through it. Anytime they're facing a contender, the Ravens are apparently going to give up a whole lot of yards and a whole lot of points.
And look, it's not like they're going to get all that much healthier either. Like, they probably
suffered injuries.
Yeah,
in the game. They had injuries
in the game. And then like Nnamdi Madubuike is out for the season for them. And Broderick Washington's on IR. Kyle Van Noy missed the game. He's probably back at some point. But yeah, you mentioned throughout the course of the game, they could take on more attrition. So that's a side of the football that I'm not sure gets a whole lot better. Like, I think Lamar will be okay. Maybe he misses this week, but eventually comes back.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. I still would want him out there, even if he's playing a little bit hurt. He's still better than most. But
they got to get in the playoffs before they can start resting him if it's iffy. You know what I mean?
No, no doubt. That's what you have to watch going forward. But for me, their offense can still get the job done, but it might not matter because other teams might feel a little bit elevated offensively themselves to hang in games like that. And I just don't know if the Ravens are, as they're currently constituted, able to hold up even in close games anymore, because we've seen them lose those to good teams. Yep. So I just, a lot of concerns, even though they're in a weak division that should be winnable. But look, I mean, Steelers got another win. Like, they're in the driver's seat for it. Clearly they are playing like the best team in the division, which is not saying much, but that's what they are right now. And the Ravens have to prove that they're better.
That plus 350 on the Ravens to miss the playoffs is looking tasty. I got to be honest with you. I would have, if I were higher on the Chiefs, if I could have seen the Chiefs come in this weekend, and I was wrong. Like, I took the Ravens. I needed to see it from the Chiefs again with this version of the offense looking how it's looked. And they absolutely answered every question and proved that I was wrong for asking them. But the Ravens side of it, man, the value on them missing the playoffs before that game would have been unthinkable. And now it's not really that unthinkable to me anymore that they could potentially do that. Like, not a great division, like you said, but if he's out for a couple weeks, I mean, John Harbaugh came out and said he couldn't have returned to the game. Many were speculating that it was like, okay, you're getting your butt kicked, and so you just don't want to have to face the Chiefs anymore. And John Harbaugh, at least, maybe he's lying for him, but if there's some truth behind it, is that would seem to imply that Lamar's, week 5 would be in danger of him being able to play. And so without Lamar, with that defense, you got Derrick Henry and not a lot else. So sometimes that can be enough to win a game, but I don't know if that's the case with the way the Ravens are playing on that side of the ball.
It might have to be a division win. Like, do you see them being in a wild card mix even through all of that? It's hard to say.
I can't speak to what the wild card like the number is going to be. The Chargers and the Chiefs are both going to make the playoffs. Whoever wins that division,
yeah,
they're going to be there. Looking now, like the Broncos will be 8 or 9 wins. So I think I'm trying to find the teams that can get to 10, and there aren't a bunch of them, honestly. So the wild card could be pretty open. Like the Jags are 3-1 right now. Very much a fan of what Liam Cohen is doing. The Bengals are 2-1. They play tonight. They play the Broncos. If the Ravens get to 10, the Steelers, I think, will probably get to 10. They just find a way. Yeah, I think 10 is enough to make a wild card. And so they whoever happens to win the division, I think they'll probably both go 10-7, honestly, as of now. And the Ravens will sneak in. But the Ravens could very quickly turn into what we viewed the Bengals to be and kind of what they are now, especially without Burrow. But like with Burrow, even their defense is so bad that they can get to 8 or 9 wins, but their defense is so bad that even an all-world offense cannot make up for it. What if we're looking at that similar situation in the same division with Baltimore right now? Like, it's possible.
Very much so. Call or text us 875-KTGR here on the Big Show, talking about that Chiefs win against the Ravens. And now, like, look, you see things a little bit better as far as the path to at least getting Rashee Rice back. 2 more games left for the Chiefs to go without Rice. They're at Jacksonville. You mentioned, look, playing better.
Such a good game coming up on Monday next week. Yes.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And then they host the Lions for another primetime one. That's the Sunday night game the following weekend. So, like, they can
split those and
that,
still be fine.
3-3, and you're good.
Yeah.
You're good once you get Rice back.
Raiders, Commanders are fake this year, even with Daniels back. Daniels being healthy would make it a tougher game. You could lose to the Bills. That'd be your 4th one. I don't know if there's a loss on the schedule after that. Broncos, Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, but you get them at home. Titans, Broncos, Raiders. You could still win 13 games. Even they could rattle off their final 10.
Like the 8 straight wins to get to 13. And
they could. I'm telling you, if they lose to the Bills and that's their 4th loss because they drop one of these next 2, that is the moment that I will bet the Chiefs to have the best record in the AFC
and be the one time to do it.
Because Buffalo may not lose 4 games, but the Chiefs may not lose more than 4, even if they lose 4 of their first 7 or whatever. Like the schedule just eases up a ton after that.
Buffalo's schedule is so weak, though. Like,
it's weak. I preseason bet over 12.5 for Buffalo as an alternate win total because I'm like, I don't see the losses and where they come from for the
Patriots and the Falcons to finish out into the bye, and then they come out of it with the Panthers. Oh my gosh,
dude, they are gonna. They could. They'll drop one here or there, and they're not like a perfect team. They've got their flaws as well, but their schedule somehow is so, and their division's terrible. That's part of why we look at it. And the Dolphins are dreadful. They're going to lose another game tonight. Jets are going to win that game tonight. By the way, I don't think think
really?
the Dolphins
You think so?
McDaniel may not make it to tomorrow's big show as the coach of the Dolphins. I mean, if the Jets win that game in Miami, they're so fired up. They've got their end zone painted all cute. If they lose that game tonight, I don't think they can keep him for another game.
Especially since they played the Thursday night game the week before, and everyone was saying after, like, hey, you put up a fight against the Bills. Maybe
they did.
McDaniel bought a little bit of time, but then you get not only that, but you play the next Monday, so you even get a longer week over what you would normally get to prepare for the Jets at home.
It is a must win tonight.
Yeah,
and yet,
I think so.
Kind of like the Jets and the points. So we'll see on that. I know this was a Chiefs segment, and look, I was wrong about the Chiefs. I couldn't be more clear. Like, I wasn't declaring them dead, but I had a lot of fun with poking at the idea that they could be, and they're very much alive. It's the same as it ever was. Really good performance against the Ravens, and I don't think I'll doubt them much going forward. Like, they could lose to the Jags, they could lose to the Lions, they could lose to the Bills. I'd pick them in every single other game of the season, and they won't lose all 3 of those. So the Chiefs are going to be fine.
Do they win the division?
They have to beat the Chargers at home, but if they do, I would probably lean Chiefs. Yeah. I mean, the Chargers, did they not lose to the Giants on Sunday? I think I'm remembering that correctly.
That's correct.
Yeah, they lost.
Yes.
They lost to Jackson Dart and the Malik Neighbors-less Giants. The worst, 2 things real quick. The worst thing that could happen to me over the weekend which was trading half of my roster for Malik Neighbors, and then he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So guess what? For anybody who would think, You just trade for great players and it works out great. No, turns out depth may be important in fantasy football. I bungled it. And then my other thing is I want to ask a question of producer Billy if he has any thoughts on Brian Callahan, if there's anything that he would like to add, because there was obviously some friction within the show.
Put up a fight in a
Texans,
game.
Titans, Andy's team against Billy's Titans.
Team.
I have a lot of
Any thoughts? Okay.
I don't know if any of them are radio appropriate.
Okay.
I definitely.
Yeah.
Last year, I was saying he needs to be gone. I was pretty sure that he needed to be gone, but I was willing to cut him a little slack. First year on the job, maybe he'll come back. And they've been worse.
He's horrible.
I didn't know it was possible, but they are miles worse than they were last year. And it's just dumb mistake after dumb mistake. It's putrid.
I mean, if you lose 26-0 to Andy's Texans, I know that you know things have gone very wrong. By the way, one of those players I traded for Neighbors, Woody Marks. Yeah, I throw Woody Marks in there. I knew he was good. Yes. I know. It's literally my worst fantasy. I won in that league, and I still feel like I lost because of how bad the trade went down. But I called it, not that it took a genius to say, Deshaun Foster, UCLA, please fire him ASAP. Yeah. I'm going to make the same declaration on the show about Brian Callahan.
Do you think it's more likely they win 0 games or 3 games?
0.
Yeah.
They could win a couple, but how are they going to win a third game?
I think it's 0 or 3.
Did Cam Ward?
We can find them.
Didn't Cam Ward say
they play the Saints?
They host the Saints.
Okay, so there's one. Potentially. I saw a quote. Maybe it was real. Maybe I'm being biffed.
No, it was real.
Cam Ward was like, "We're ass."
Yes.
I think that's what he said.
That's what he said. And then he dropped it. I'm glad, man. I'm glad. Yeah. He's sticking his neck out. Then he dropped an F-bomb in the next sentence too. So I'm glad someone's taking it personal. Makes me happy.
Yeah. As a rookie, that's kind of impressive for him to feel like, look, this is the way I feel about it, and he wants to win. I don't know how good or bad he is, but this ain't his fault right now. I mean, it's a bad situation.
He's the guy that they're for sure keeping. You don't get rid of him. You get rid of the head coach. That's
which, by the way, why are we doing it this way, NFL teams? The Bears held on to Eberflus as though Caleb Williams could be the guy to save his job, right? And then they have to fire him. It's like, all right, let's get our coach. Wouldn't it make more sense to bring in the coach with the quarterback?
Yeah, alignment.
I don't know.
Alignment is what you need with that,
because that kills tenures. That's gonna harm the next tenure of the next head coach, because you're not gonna know for 2-3 years about Cam Ward, but they didn't come in at the same time. It's like that cycle. Hopefully for the Bears and Ben Johnson, it works out. But like, you would think that they would think this through a little bit more. I don't know. That's my 2 cents on the soapbox.
You haven't spent a lot of time evaluating the Titans front office decisions, because
I have not, but I'm sure
I'll let you in on a secret, Brendan. The most logical solution is never the solution. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's how it goes over in Tennessee, I guess. 875 KTGR. Chiefs get it done against the Ravens. Tell us what you thought of that performance to get to 500 once again. 573-875-5847 if you want to text in. Jason says, Tyreek, Worthy, Rice, coming soon. Okay, not the Tyreek part. Please no. Let's not do that.
I don't want it, but if it happened, I would still watch. So.
I mean, sure.
He's not going to want to stay in Miami after tonight.
No.
I mean,
no, definitely not.
We'll see.
Someone will pull that trigger. I just don't know if the Chiefs will. Think they've moved on. Call or text us here at 875-KTGR here on The Big Show if you want to discuss some Chiefs with us. Up next, we'll talk Cardinals, their offseason beginning, and boy, there could be a whole wide range of outcomes with Chaim Bloom taking over the baseball operations. We'll hear from him tomorrow in the press conference he's supposed to have. But what are you expecting from the Cardinals offseason? We'll get to that next.
Follow The Big Show on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And keep it here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for ProfitShares.com, a free way to play in football contests all season long and show off your knowledge. And you can win prizes in the process. If you haven't started yet, well, it's not too late. You can do so pretty much every single week, as each week they reset their Profit Picks contests, and you can enter in and you can compete against others. And the more you climb up the leaderboard based on what picks you get right for each one of those pro football or college football games that you want to claim your stake on, well, then you can earn more points the more you get right. And then you can use those points to get gift cards for some of your favorite restaurants. You can also donate to some great causes. You can make charitable donations with those points that you earn. And it's a great way to not spend any money, but also also stay in the game when it comes to getting your football predictions right. Again, it's ProfitShares.com. That's PROPHET shares.com. Go and sign up if you haven't already and get started with those weekly contests today.
At Lee's Tire Company, they're family, not just because they spend a lot of time together, or argue once in a while, or because they wanted something catchy to say. Lee's Tire Company has been family-owned for over 5 decades, and that's not changing anytime soon. Plus, it works out for you because you can't pick your family, but you can pick your tire place. And once you pick Lee's, you're family forever.
Lee's Tire Company is round for you. Ooh, see Lee's.
Macadoodles does selection like nobody else. If you're looking for ingredients to make the perfect new drink, look no further. Why settle for boring? Macadoodles has you covered. With Colombia's widest variety of beer, wine, and spirits, you're sure to find something new and exciting when you shop with Macadoodles. Come experience the difference in selection at Macadoodles today. Macadoodles delivers world-class customer service and unmatched selection at unbeatable prices. Who does selection like nobody else? Macadoodles does.
The warm scent of maple spiced coffee fills the air. And is that a hint of Caribbean rum? That must be Caldi's Coffee Highlander Grog Brewing, our decadent maple spiced blend that's won fans nationwide. Loved for how it smells and for how it makes you feel. Each cup brings back the comfort of a classic coffee morning. Cozy, nostalgic, maple spiced coffee. Shop Caldi'sCoffee.com for your bag today. Also available in pods.
Hi, I'm Shelly Scribner, and I'm a marketing strategist for Zimmer Communications. If you're thinking about starting a new career, I really suggest looking at Zimmer Communications. I've been here for several years. It's really a great opportunity to learn a variety of things about a variety of different businesses. The things that you learn really make you proud of being a Missourian and having Zimmer Communications as your place to call home.
If you're up for the challenge, apply now at ZimmerCommunications.com.
This is Kim with Hearing Aid Consultants. For some, the thought of wearing a hearing device makes them feel old. In reality, improved hearing helps prevent accelerated aging. Untreated hearing loss not only can decrease your lifespan, but it can also lead to a faster decline in cognitive abilities and increase the likelihood of dementia. Come see us at Hearing Aid Consultants for your free hearing evaluation today. Hearing Aid Consultants in Allmake Repair Lab in Jefferson City. We are here for you today so you can hear tomorrow. HearingAidConsultants.com.
Back to more of the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. You've got The Big Show on the KTGR app.
To see the Chiefs look like the Chiefs again against the Ravens on Sunday. 573-875-KTGR. You can call or text in your Chiefs thoughts to us as we roll along here on The Big Show. Xavier Worthy looked great. Patrick Mahomes looked great again. His first 4 touchdown games since 2023. Also, not to go unnoticed, I just found this to be fascinating. First of all, but really feeling for Chris Jones, who had a death in the family over or recently, and then over the weekend went to Starkville for the funeral on Saturday. And so he was technically added to the injury report because he missed Saturday's team activities. And so technically you got to add him to it and say, like, okay, it's not injury related, but it's personal, but he's here. There's no injury designation. Right. He's literally, his flight out of Starkville wasn't all that early. So he's rolling into the stadium like a little bit before 3 in the suit and tie. He's walking into the building. And so I just can't imagine myself. Like, he's a world-class athlete, obviously. I just can't imagine pulling up to the building, throwing on pads, doing a little stretching, and then 30 minutes later playing an NFL football game without any kind of ramp up or stuff like that. Like, that was pretty incredible from Chris Jones, I got to say.
Yeah, that is wild when you take a step back and think of it, like a family funeral that he was attending. And then, I mean, there had to be a lot of emotions, I would imagine. And athletes of that caliber can sometimes channel those things into being effective for their athletic pursuits. So, like, not to overanalyze it, but that it really is remarkable when you sit back and think about it.
Yeah, because he had a pass deflection in that game. I don't think he got a sack, but he affected things as he usually does, even without getting the numbers. So again, condolences out to Chris Jones's family. I believe he lost his aunt, and but was still able to come back and contribute for his team. 875-KTGR. You can call or text us with your Chiefs thoughts, and we'll get to the NFL good, bad, and ugly tomorrow. Lots to get to, of course, when it comes to this past weekend. But we heard from John Mozeliak for the final time as president of baseball operations of the Cardinals today, and nothing too unexpected. Wanted to highlight the good things. That's fair, right? There were very good times in the John Mozeliak era. It's just that in the back half of it, there were a few not so good times that really stood out and kind of led to things going the way they're going now with Chaim Bloom stepping in. But now, Brendan, it's a whole mixed bag that we could get. But what do you expect now with the Cardinals' direction heading into the 2026 season with a new man in charge?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a better question for tomorrow because we'll get to hear from Chaim Bloom around 10 a.m. and be able to actually ask some of the burning questions. Today, for Mozeliak, anything that was, maybe forward-facing was more garnering a response of that'll sort of be for Chaim and his group to dive into and detail how they want to handle that. But, it was clear that this last year there weren't going to be big mistakes made that were going to have long-range implications on what the team wants to do moving forward. And when you sit back and think about it, Mo talking about not really going around to the minor league cities this year like he normally would do. That was all sort of Chaim Bloom's jurisdiction as he, and his group worked to kind of ramp up the development side of things. And, Mo said there was a weekly standing meeting with those guys to kind of everybody be on the same page, which I thought was notable just because we kind of speculated and wondered what is it, how is it actually working, is it awkward, what's going on? And it seems like they all were professional in how they kind of approached what the last year would be. But when you think about we really were clamoring, get a look for JJ Weatherholt, get a look for Quinn Matthews toward the end, and hey, maybe it's enough to get you in. Really the conservative path is the one that was taken because I just don't think they were going to do anything that was going to hamstring the next guy. And so it'll really left a pretty blank slate for the number of things that could change. And I'm anticipating that Brendan Donovan will be traded. I would be surprised if he's not. I'm not an advocate for that move, but I expect it. Now talk to me tomorrow at the same time, and I may answer it differently depending on how Chaim Bloom answers that question, because I think that's a big name that you circle and probably gets asked about tomorrow by name as to what does it look like for Brendan Donovan, knowing that if they take on the tone of rebuild as much as I expect them to do tomorrow, when you consider, Katie Woo's reporting and different reports about how they're kind of looking to probably trade Sonny Gray and Arenado is as good as gone. They approached Contreras and he said, I'd really like to stay, but wouldn't rule it out if a good fit came to be. They could tear this thing down to the studs. And if it looks that way, is it a multi-year process before the Cardinals are even as competitive as they were this year? Those are real possibilities that I think hopefully we get some insights into tomorrow morning. I don't think that you can answer anything definitively, but it's going to be an offseason of extreme activity, kind of coming after a period where the Cardinals were in sort of wait and see mode. Let's kind of just take this as it comes and don't make any big moves. Don't do anything that's going to change the deck for the next guy when he starts to shuffle it. And that's kind of the way that it went. And you're right. Mozeliak didn't say anything today that I thought would be super newsworthy or noteworthy, but I thought correct to do it this way, where he gets an opportunity to sort of say thanks. He said some thank yous and had the chance to, hear from people and it wasn't instructive on the future, but doesn't mean it wasn't worth doing. And I think very much tomorrow's press conference, in which I think Bill DeWitt Jr. in the third will be up there at the podium along with Chaim Bloom, will certainly be noteworthy because we just have not heard from Chaim Bloom. That was by design in how the Cardinals wanted to handle it, but we're going to get a chance to hear from him and maybe glean more about what his vision to come is going to be.
Yeah, it was really this time last year, wasn't it? The last time that we heard publicly from Chaim Bloom in any sort of media setting.
I think that's really right, where it was announced that he would be taking over at this time 1 year from now. And here we are a year later and that's happening. But no, there haven't been, a lot of public commentaries. He was up there at Wrigley, a little bit more boots on the ground and around and talking to people. But that hasn't been a theme throughout much of the year. That was just sort of the transitioning period of, okay, now he's out and about and going to be in charge of the whole thing. And yeah, we have not heard from him in a public facing way really since a year ago.
So that'll be intriguing. And I'd be intrigued to know what the last year was like for him. Like, how does he view the strengths of this organization? Like,
we're going to ask
if he was ingrained upon the minor league landscape for what the Cardinals were trying to build and how he wanted to position them. Okay. Is it strong under your estimation, or do you need to try and restock? And that might be informative of how they feel about, do you trade Brendan Donovan? Do you not? Or do you trade some of these other guys, or do you not? Right.
And like, I get a sense that ownership will need to be asked about spending. Like, okay, payroll went down. Everybody was cool with that. It sounds like it's probably going to happen again this next offseason if you're trading away Arenado and Sonny Gray and maybe Contreras. Like, you might have to eat some money to get those deals done, but money's going to come off the books. Michaelis is off the books. Fetty off the books. What does it look like? What's spending look like for this offseason? Okay, if you're kind of rebuilding, do you have 5 starting pitchers in your organization that are MLB ready for April?
I don't know.
The answer might not be a yes. Now, Kyle Leahy did start on Sunday. I thought that was notable because I think he should be
maybe about 2 months too late at least, right?
Well, for sure. But again, like, they just didn't want to make any major moves that were going to rock the boat, and it feels like kind of a waste of time. I thought Katie Wu asked a good question of Mo today of, like, you kind of talked about it as a transition year where you could answer some questions. What questions were answered? And he said maybe not as many as we would have liked, but I do think that there were some that were. It's just like this ended up being, because they were so close, it feels like, man, you could have done a few different things and maybe been able to sneak in, but that was never the theme of the season, even as they tried to kind of gloss over that and say, hey, there's still a chance you could get hot and make it. Yeah, there was, but they really didn't put the team in a position where that was prioritized at any point. And so it kind of ended up being a wasted year, especially if they do end up going into a full-scale rebuild. Like, they could have
just done that last year and gotten a little bit sooner to the time where they're potentially competitive.
And what's interesting to me too, like, you think about the Weatherholt stuff, like, we blame Mo about that. If he wasn't even going to the minors, I think Heim probably had a big hand in, like, when guys would get promoted from AA to AAA, or guys would get promoted from high A to AA Springfield. Like, I guess when it comes to the big league level, you might say, hey, there's some conversations there, but largely Mo was running the ship. I just wonder if having that sort of laissez-faire, let's just let everything play out, let's get through the Michaelis contract, let's get some money off the books. But my concern would be if they decide to go into more of a true rebuild and they drop money to do it, dump payroll. Okay, but I get it that the attendance is down, but man, how far is this payroll going to drop if that's sort of the mindset of the next couple of years? Because you could really use I'm not asking for much, but a couple savvy bargain bin type of starting pitching signings could go a long way for a team that's largely going to return most of its offense. And like, the parts that you're getting rid of, like Arenado, weren't really contributing anyway this year. Like, they don't have to be terrible, but I'm kind of worried that they might be content to be terrible for a couple of years. We'll find out more tomorrow.
Call or text us 875-KTGR here on The Big Show if you want to weigh in on the Cardinals and what your expectations are for this offseason. We've got Steve here on the KTGR hotline. Steve, what you got for us?
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I just don't see trading Donovan. He's like the heart and soul of the Cardinals to me. He's one guy who goes out there and busts his rear end every game, and I sure get rid of Walker and Gorman way before Donovan. Those guys, I don't think they're really invested, but if they are, you can't afford to have two guys striking out 250 times a year. And Walker's a liability in the outfield, but I sure wouldn't trade Donovan.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate the call, Steve, here on The Big Show, KTGR. And that's, I think, the prevailing thought. I think Steve represents a lot of the Cardinals fan base when it comes to the type of player that Brendan Donovan is. Like, it's easy to root for Brendan Donovan with the style that he plays and the fact
winning player.
He has come up in big moments here. Now, I don't know about, like, Gorman. Yeah, I would try to trade him, try and get something for him. Walker, I'm still not going to try and cut losses on him. I would like
you're getting nothing.
Right. Exactly.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah. I think you still
maybe
try to
resurfaces.
see it out, see what you can find from him. But yeah, that's the interesting part about Donovan. It's the fact of, like, okay, Cardinals fans will come to the building to come and see a guy like Brendan Donovan. If you trade him away,
not as much, but like attendance is
not as much this year.
It's a loss. It's a lost cause. Attendance is a lost cause for 2026. It just is. They're not going to do the things to get him back, and they're going to have to accept that. But what does that become a downward spiral where, okay, we're at less butts and seats, less money to spend on payroll, can't win as well? When does it turn around? Well, if you draft and develop really, really well, like the Rays do, then maybe it turns around. But that's not what Cardinals fans are used to. They're used to knowing that the ownership will be willing to supplement with free agency when they need to. And I don't know what that's going to look like for the next couple of years. And like Steve's speaking as a Cardinals fan who wants to see the Cardinals win, you wouldn't trade Donovan if you're trying to win right now. That's my point. They're not.
Yeah.
That's what you should be a little bit. Some people have asked for a rebuild. They might be getting it.
That means not winning. That means not winning.
That means not winning games.
Right.
It means losing 100 games potentially.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know. I've said for so many years that if it ends up that people complain about it when it happens, I'm going to go, I tried to tell you, you don't want to rebuild, Cardinals fans. And Steve does not sound like a Cardinals fan that wants one. But it could be very lean. I mean, you're an Astros fan, Andy. You've gotten to reap the benefits of the after effects of the rebuild. But tell me about those years when you're losing 105 games.
In the moment,
not fun.
does not look. It does not. It's not fun. Not fun at all.
And not every rebuild comes with, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that you lose for enough, especially now in an era where there's a lottery.
Ask the Orioles. Ask the Orioles how they feel about how the rebuild has gone so far.
They're run by a guy that used to be in the Cardinals front office. That's the interesting part to me is I think ownership is getting what they want in Chaim Bloom. I think they're going to have a savvy front office of guys that are going to outperform the payroll, outperform the expectations. It may take them a couple of years to do it. But does that mean the Cardinals are just the Rays now, or will ownership be willing to reinvest? I think that's something that has to be pushed on a little bit tomorrow because we kind of all knew 25 would be that decrease in payroll. There's another stark one potentially coming, and like people that ask for a rebuild, are you cool with that? Or are you going to be a little bit irked if they're kind of using this cover of, oh, finally they're rebuilding? Like fans want to rebuild and they're going to get it. Okay, but what does that actually look like tangibly? When Steve talks about trade Gorman, and trade some of the players that Walker, like he's talking about players that didn't perform as well. And that's why they didn't win this year as a team. I'm not saying trade Donovan because he's why they didn't win. I'm saying they're going to trade Donovan because they don't care to win in 26 or 27. That's my concern. And now would be the time to get value for him if you're not going to sign him to an extension. I would sign him to an extension. I don't want people to get my point of view confused here. What I would do if I ran the Cardinals is give him not a blank check, but like the fair offer that's going to get him to ink. I'm going to get him for 5 years with an option, maybe 6 years if that's what it takes, because I think his game will age gracefully into age 32, 33 and beyond. I think what they're going to do is trade the players that have value, keep the ones that maybe don't have as much value because you're not paying Walker very much money. You're not paying Gorman very much money yet. And you can just run them out there. And if they stink, that's okay. You're not trying to win. That's kind of what I think is coming, but we will know a lot more tomorrow after we actually hear from Chaim Bloom, who's now in charge. It's his show.
The very interesting answers, I'm sure, coming to us soon from Chaim Bloom as far as what the direction of this offseason will be. Call or text us at 875-KTGR. What do you expect, Cardinal fans, after the final year of John Mozeliak and now Chaim Bloom is taking over? Steve C. with the question, of course, that will be on some folks' minds for right or wrong, because he talked about good riddance. John Mozeliak mailed it in for the last 10 years. Now we'll see what Chaim Bloom can do. Can't wait. Perhaps he will start by hiring a new coach. I'm sure he meant manager.
Will Chaim Bloom start by hiring a new manager? Is that the question?
Yes.
I can answer that. Do you want the real answer? It might not make you happy if that's what you're hoping for.
Well,
but
not making me happy or sad or whatever.
No, not you. You
Yes.
general.
Yes.
You out there in listener land. If you are not an Ollie Marmol fan, I have news. He's not going anywhere. He's just not. It's a fact. He was at the press conference today. If the next guy was going to fire him, I think he would probably
not have been invited. No,
in the room today.
Yeah.
Again, he'll probably be in front of a microphone tomorrow. Maybe, I don't know. It might just be for Chaim, and Ollie will have his different times to speak on things. But Ollie is very much ingrained in what's going on. I think that's correct. I am in favor of that as a Cardinals observer. I think it's a smart decision. And also, if you're rebuilding and slashing payroll, why would you pay two managers in 2026? Like when you're not going to fire a guy, pay him to not manage your team when you're not doing. Again, you have to retrain your brain, Cardinals fans, because you're used to thinking if they do X, Y, and Z to get a little bit better, they're going to be a playoff team. That's not the goal, and I don't think it's going to be in 2026. They could still win 80 games by happenstance because they have talent, but they're not going to be pushing their chips in the middle to try and win. I think if and when the time comes that they do, I hope Ollie Marmol is still here, because I think if you gave him the 10th best roster in baseball and you gave every manager that same roster, I think Ollie's getting more out of that roster than about 25 other managers. I think he's a top-tier manager in the big leagues. I think he's going to need the roster to convince most Cardinals fans that he's that, but I've seen enough to believe that he is. He is far more likely to get a contract extension announced tomorrow than he is that he'll be fired tomorrow. I would be very surprised if he's not extended before opening day. I'm not going to say it'll be tomorrow, but it very well could be.
Well, he was extended last year, wasn't he?
He was extended before 2024, and there have been 2 seasons that have been played. So he's got 1 year left on the contract.
Okay, gotcha.
And so that was the same scenario. The one he faces today is the same that he faced going into 2024, right? They came off of that 71 and 91 season.
Yeah.
They extended him after that season. They waited till spring to do it. But I think it's the next guy coming in. They got a whole off season to talk and get on the same page. But I believe that Chaim Bloom and Ollie Marmol will work well together. And so if he's extended before the season, it's kind of my expectation, because I don't think you'd have a manager on a lame duck. It's not quite as much as college football, Andy, where you need 4 years for recruiting, but you need more than 1, I think. And I think Ollie will get that. I think they're going to see eye to eye on a lot of ways to run the team. And frankly, I think the Cardinals can be elevated under this Chaim Bloom, Ollie Marmol partnership, if you will.
Call or text us, Cardinal fans, 573-875-KTGR. Cardinals enter a very interesting offseason. What do you expect from it? All right, we'll talk about, the tie from yesterday and an interesting event that could be coming for Mizzou men's basketball within the next year or two. That's next.
Now, your local sports center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Billy Jones. This live local sports centers with Lee's Tire Company. That's round and rubber. Lee sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com. Missouri up to 19th in the coaches poll after they win 42-6 over UMass on Saturday and improve to 5-0 on the season. The SEC announced today their matchup against 10th-ranked Alabama a week from Saturday will be on ABC. First nationally televised game at home since they played Tennessee in 2023. You can also hear that one right here on KTGR. Kickoff set for 11 a.m. The Yingling Tiger Game Day Show begins at 8. The Chiefs moved to 2-2 after they defeated the Ravens yesterday, 37-20. Patrick Mahomes with an impressive day, 4 passing touchdowns. That was the most points for Kansas City since September of 2023 when they defeated Chicago. The Cardinals lost 2-0 yesterday in the season finale against the Cubs. They've now missed the playoffs for the 3rd consecutive season, finishing 78-84, good for 4th in the NL Central. It was the final day for President of Baseball Operations John Moiselock, who took the job in 2007. Chaim Bloom will take over in the same role tomorrow. Royals win 9-2 against the Athletics to finish the season 82-80. That is now 2 consecutive winning seasons for the Royals. First time they've been able to do that since 2014-2015. Up next, your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking mostly clear skies with a chance of some steam fog in river valleys tonight. We'll drop down into the low 60s. Tomorrow we'll see sunshine again with highs in the upper 80s, and the heat looks to continue. We'll see partly cloudy skies tomorrow night with temperatures falling into the low 60s, highs back into the 80s on Wednesday. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
The Rich Eisen Show.
Ethan Hawke is here. I started my life a Cowboys fan, 13 years old, and I remember going out back just weeping. It was the first awakening that life just wasn't going to always go your way.
Sports is an excellent metaphor for that sort of stuff.
Since then, I have found that athletics has more to teach you about the fundamental natures of mankind than Tolstoy does.
Catch The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays from 11 to 2 on KTGR and the KTGR app.
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. You might know nothing about it, but if you ever need it, you'll be thankful that Boone Hospital Wound Healing Center offers it. It increases oxygen delivery to your bloodstream and tissue, accelerating healing and reducing the risk of complications in hard-to-heal wounds. Find out if hyperbaric oxygen therapy is right for you and schedule an appointment. Visit boone.health to learn more.
Real healing starts here. Boone Hospital, Boone Healing Center.
This weekend, cancel your plans. Brunch is calling at the Dive Bar in Columbia. Start with biscuits, not just any biscuits, local made, buttermilk, sweet corn, even gluten-free, smothered in scratch-made gravy, pork sausage, or the chorizo. Don't forget the loaded biscuit, fluffy omelet, drenched in gravy, stacked so high it's basically brunch art. And then there's the Dive Cristo, smoked ham, house-made raspberry jam, gooey cheese wrapped in a flaky puff pastry. The Monte Cristo wishes it was this good. Brunch Saturday and Sunday only at the Dive Bar in Columbia. Don't just eat, experience.
You think you're saving money until one accident wipes it all away. Cheap car insurance can leave you dealing with medical costs, repairs, even uninsured drivers. It piles up fast. That's why you need Phyllis Nichols. She's not just an agent. She's the 12-round fighter in your corner. Phyllis digs into your policy, breaks down your options, and makes sure you have the coverage to handle whatever life throws at you. Don't get knocked out by being underinsured. Call State Farm agent Phyllis Nichols, the 12-round agent.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
Hey, this is Jimmy with Pro Designs, and maybe you've heard, we're the vehicle wrap specialists, but branding your business doesn't stop there. At Pro Designs, we can wrap your walls, windows, even floors.
Go to ProDesigns.com.
Come see them at their locations in Eldon or Columbia off Rangeline Street and I-70.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
This new neighborhood deli really has Columbia chirping, and they're popping up all over town. Read all about it in the current issue of Inside Columbia magazine. Need some weekend plans? Book your fun with our calendar section for great to-dos September through November. And get everything from outfit ideas to parking hacks in our special game day section. It's all Inside Columbia magazine. Get your copy today at break time convenience stores or have it delivered at InsideColumbia.net.
Drove your new Defender, 63. Got in a fender bender with an SUV. No need to shout, don't go crazy. Just get your phone out, call FPP. They do all the work with your insurance company. One, call the number. Two, take it in. Three, get your car back like new again. Take from me, they make it hassle free. You can't go wrong with the easy three. Just a 1, 2, 3 with FPP.
FPPBodyShop.com. Discover, explore, and soak in the views of the incredible landscapes that make up the last frontier, Alaska. Experience the diverse culture and rich history as we cruise the Pacific coast and explore the wilds of Denali, Glacier Bay, and beyond. And boy, do we have some good news. There are currently still seats available, but don't wait, as you only have until October 3rd to book this once-in-a-lifetime trip. To RSVP and learn more, go to ZimmerCommunications.com today.
They can't shoot it straight on the golf course, but they can shoot straight on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Back to Andy and Brendan on The Big Show on KTGR.
Of course, it was a big weekend. You can continue to tell us what you thought of it, and we'll have more to talk about tomorrow, of course, when it comes to the Cardinals after we hear what Chaim Bloom said in the morning. We'll have our good, bad, and ugly tomorrow in the NFL, and more Mizzou talk as always. Here's an interesting Mizzou thing, Brendan. Matt Norlander, college basketball national reporter, says that the Missouri Tigers have been invited to the Players Era Festival. That's that big tournament in Vegas that's got a bunch of NIL tied into it, and they're creating this huge event for next year's tournament in November 2026, where they're gonna have like 32 schools there. Mizzou's gotten an invite, or agreed to a contract at least with Mizzou and in that event. So expect to have one of those mid-season tournaments like we've been maybe wanting Mizzou to be in for a while, but it just hasn't happened over the last few seasons.
Yeah, it sounds like the big one to be in now. It's going to change, I think, the landscape of how a lot of those kind of preseason, in-season tournaments function, because this one's going to be a rather significant one. I think they're trying to get 32 teams. Is that, I don't know if that's accurate, but that's, I mean, very interesting potential type of event in the way that they could structure it.
So like you get 3 games that are likely quad 1 worthy, if not probably quad 2. That goes along with your ACC game, your bragging rights, your border war. Late November to early December is going to be pretty beefy on the non-con for Mizzou next year. But hey, Jason Crow Jr., Tony Bryant, I mean, why not swing big with that type of arm that you get to use scheduling in college basketball? So I find that to be pretty interesting, but I think could benefit Mizzou in the long run for maybe events like that in the future if they do well in it. So an interesting thing from today, and we'll see what the details are on that and within the year to come. They're not going to be this year, but next year looks like they will be. Also, we'll get to this in the good, bad, and ugly tomorrow, I'm sure. But the tie. How'd you feel about the tie, Brendan?
I hated it. It was such a good game. Very compelling. I was on the Cowboys of all things, and so like it looked really ugly at first, and then just magical coming into the half. I mean, just the turnovers and Cowboys doing what they did to be able to be competitive and have a pretty good second half offensively. You know, their defense is a concern still for sure, but I just hated everything about that tie. And I know that it's not because of the rule change about both sides possessing, because nobody scored a touchdown, so both sides still would have possessed under the old rules. I just hate the 10-minute thing. Like, if you're going to tie, you should be playing long enough to have more than just one possession each. Like that 10 whole minutes, I just don't. You can't just make it untimed into infinity, especially if
you make it 15 minutes. Does that allow both teams? Not always, though.
You make it for what it always was until they moved it back to 10 minutes. Yes, I don't see why that would be a problem.
70 minutes in total seems like long enough to me, though. That's just me. I don't know.
I think I'm cool with
minutes. Come on.
I'm cool with every sport shortening their overtime, except for the NFL. It's just you only play so many games per season. Like, you can't tie. And if you're gonna tie, come up with a little bit longer than teams trading field goals and calling the game over. That just sucked. It was such a good game, and I felt nothing after it because of the tie.
I will say, though, if Packers showed some urgency on that last drive, maybe they wouldn't have tied. Maybe, Cowboys would have gotten another chance with Brandon Aubrey to kick it from the opposing or his own 30 or something like that. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk more about it tomorrow at 4 o'clock. He's Brendan. I'm Andy. Chiefs Kingdom Show next. You're on KTGR.
Shangri-La is proud to be a part of every black and gold home game this season.